Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're not just looking at dry data. No, we're tracing the timeline of a road trip that spiraled into an absolute, literal nightmare. You know, we all hear those local ghost stories, right? And usually we just brush them off as campfire tales meant to spook the tourists. But what happens when you accidentally drive right into the middle of one? Well, today we're going to unravel the timeline, the deep psychological trauma, and the honestly horrifying climax of an event that happened on a lonely, freezing mountain road in India.
Now these words right here, they're the lyrics to a very famous classic Hindi lullaby. Translated, it means, "You are my moon, you are my sun, you are the star of my eyes." It's meant to be deeply comforting, something a mother sings to soothe her child to sleep. But for a 25-year-old guy named Sahil, these sweet words have become the trigger for his absolute most terrifying recurring nightmare. To understand how a song of pure love became a symphony of pure terror, we've got to go back to how this whole nightmare started.
Section 1. A getaway to Manali. So Sahil and his three friends, Chirag, Arun, and Samaya, took this trip for one very specific reason. They were trying to pull their friend Samaya out of a really deep darkness. On the surface, it was just four guys taking a break from office life, heading up to the beautiful mountains of Himachal Pradesh. But just a few months prior, Samaya had suffered a literally unimaginable loss. His younger brother was tragically killed in a horrific accident on a school trip. Ever since then, Samaya had become completely withdrawn, just consumed by the trauma. His buddies just wanted to bring him back to life a little bit, give him a change of scenery. Now, keep this raw grief in the back of your mind because it is absolutely crucial. It's the key that unlocks the horror that follows.
Section 2. The Valley of Death.
So, everything was actually going pretty well. That is, until the third day. They decided to take their car up to the famous, breathtaking Rotang Pass. But right before leaving their hotel, the receptionist gave them a chilling, very stark warning. He basically said, make absolutely sure you are back before 6 p.m. And he wasn't just worried about heavy traffic. The word Rotang literally translates to pile of corpses or valley of death. I mean, yikes. Locals firmly believe that anyone stranded on the pass after dark doesn't just freeze to death, they're taken by a dark, roaming entity that wanders the valley. In fact, even the locals lock their doors and stay inside once the sun goes down.
Section 3. The Endless Road.
Of course, four modern guys from the city just laughed off the warning. I mean, they figured thousands of tourists visit every day, so it's probably just a silly story meant to scare people, right? So they drove up, enjoyed a 4 to 5 hour trek, and completely lost track of time. By 9:15 p.m., this heavy, blinding fog had rolled in, severely reducing visibility and basically trapping them on their descent down the mountain. There wasn't a single tourist in sight, so they're creeping down these treacherous roads at barely 30 kilometers per hour with their fog lights blaring. Around 9:35 p.m., they pass a milestone reading Manali 28 km. Sitting on that freezing stone in the pitch black was a man wearing only a thin white dhoti. They drove past in total silence. 20 minutes later, the fog clears just enough to reveal another milestone. And guess what? It also says Manali 28 km. They were driving in a geographical loop. When they realized they were trapped, they started comparing notes. And that is exactly when the true horror set in. Check this out. 3 different guys, looking at the exact same physical space, experienced 3 completely different, highly specific hallucinations. Sahil saw the man in the dhoti, but Chirag interrupted him. He said he saw a little girl holding a toy. Then Arun, the driver, thought they were both crazy, because he clearly saw a massive black horse standing there watching them pass. And Samai? Well, Samai didn't describe an illusion at all. He had slipped into this bizarre trance-like state, just blankly repeating, "Someone needs help. If someone asks for help, we have to stop." When they hit that Manali 28 km milestone for a third time, the rock was totally empty.
So by 11 p.m., they are fully panicking. They feel trapped in this illusion they just can't escape. Arun is white-knuckling the steering wheel, telling everyone don't look outside, just look straight ahead. But come on, of course they look. Right outside the window, a 15-year-old boy is moving alongside their car. His clothes are caked in dirt, his face covered in fresh injuries. But here is the detail that will make your blood run cold. Remember, they were driving at 40 kilometers an hour. This battered boy wasn't running. He was casually, effortlessly walking right beside them.
Now ask yourself, if someone asked for help in the dark, under these bizarre and terrifying circumstances, would you roll down your window? Instinct says absolutely not. No way, you hit the gas. But remember Samay's trauma.
Seeing this injured boy, Samay insisted he needed help. Before anyone could even stop him, Samay just rolled down his window. Arun frantically mashed the central locking controls to roll it back up, but the system completely failed. The electronics were dead. Samay just sat there, staring out the open window into the dark at this supernatural entity. Everyone is screaming Samay's name in the car, desperately trying to snap him out of his trance. Suddenly, the boy outside just stopped walking. Sahil, absolutely terrified, glances up into the rearview mirror. Through the eerie red glow of the taillights, he sees the boys standing in the middle of the dark road, waving at them. And then he looks at Samay. Samay was looking at the back window, with this unnatural possessed smile plastered on his face, happily waving back at the entity. Terrified, Arun just slammed on the gas, completely abandoning their safe speed.
Section 4. The Midnight Lullaby.
Somehow, speeding up miraculously seemed to break the loop. They finally saw a milestone for Manali 16 km and let out this massive sigh of relief. Arun got them safely back to the hotel just before 2 a.m. Exhausted, terrified, they all agreed to just process everything in the morning and immediately went to sleep. They thought they were safe. But at 3:30 a.m., Sahil was jolted awake by a voice singing. It was Samay, standing right in front of the room's mirror. He was singing that sweet childhood lullaby we talked about earlier, Chanda Hai Tu. But as Sahil woke Chirag and Arun, they realized Samay looked physically altered. His eyes were blood red. There were dark, visible choke marks bruising his neck, as if invisible hands were literally strangling him. And he was wearing that same sinister, unnatural smile.
None of the friends even dared to step closer. They slowly began backing toward the door. Sensing their movements, Samay suddenly stopped singing. He slowly turned his head to look at his terrified friends. And when he spoke, it wasn't Samay's voice at all. It was the innocent, chilling voice of a small child. He giggled and asked, "If I knock on your window at night, will you open it to help me?" As soon as those whispered words left his mouth, Samay's eyes just rolled back and he collapsed completely unconscious on the floor.
Section 5. The Exorcism.
By this point, the friends were absolutely certain that a dark entity had taken hold of Samay. As soon as the sun rose, they desperately sought the help of the hotel staff, who pointed them to a local spiritual healer, a Pandit. The Pandit took one single look at Samay and knew immediately what was going on. The entity at Rotang Pass hadn't chosen him at random. It literally smelled his fresh, raw grief. It took the form of a bleeding child specifically to exploit the tragic loss of Samay's own brother, basically weaponizing his deep empathy to crawl into his mind and take control of his body.
To break this grip, the pundit jumped into a desperate, three-stage ritual steeped in local cultural practices. First, he performed Nazar, casting off the evil eye and the surface-level negative energy. Then, he moved straight into Jodpunk, which is this intense, aggressive session of chanting, using a broom of peacock feathers to drive the spirit backward. But it was the third step that finally broke it, a violent physical purge. The rituals induced a horrible reaction. Samay began to violently vomit, and what came out of him was this thick, foul, pitch-black liquid. Once that black purge was complete, Samay collapsed, finally, totally freed from the entity's grip.
So, what's the aftermath? Well, today, Samay is completely back to normal, with absolutely no memory of the lullaby or the horrific night in that hotel room. But his friend Sahil, he is left with permanent, lingering nightmares of that childhood song echoing in the dark. It's a chilling reminder of why we study these incidents on this explainer. And honestly, it leaves us with one final unsettling thought. The haunting might be over for Samay, but knowing what actually lurks in that fog, would you ever ignore a local legend again? Thanks for joining me for this explainer. Stay safe out there, guys, especially after dark.